Hi, this is Ashishar Bidekar, and welcome to my podcast, The ARB Show. I'm thrilled to introduce today's guest, Nihal. Nihal is the founder and CEO of Deep Tech Stars, one of the largest global communities of AI developers with over 30,000 community members. They host monthly tech talks, workshops, hackathons, product demos, all on the subject of AI. Deep Techstars also helps startups and companies find and hire top AI experts, leveraging this vibrant community. Nihal has a BE in Computer Science from RV College of Engineering, Bangalore, and a MBA in Marketing and Strategy from the Indian School of Business, Hyderabad. Nihal, welcome to the show. Do share your life journey and your vision for deep tech, and also look forward to hearing your thoughts on the top 5 tips for cracking a AI job for developers. Over to you, Nihal.
Thank you so much, Ashish. Very happy to be on the show. I think we were planning it from quite some time. I'm glad that we have gotten a chance to do it now. So, Ashish, I have basically been, in the space of deep tech for a little over 10 years now. In 2013, I was interested very much in what was happening in the Internet of Things space. And to learn a little bit more about that, I thought, let me just try and create a community of people who are interested in this space as well. And while that started off as a small meetup group, it grew quite fast. And we started to do a lot of activities in the IoT space. One thing that became obvious very quickly is just looking at the content, the kind of quantity of data that was coming out of these machines, we realized that, wow, we actually need machine learning to make sense of it. So let's start looking at, how machine learning, deep learning, AI, all of these also fit into the deep tech paradigm. Very quickly, I think since about 2015, 16, we kind of started doing a lot more activities and events in the AI space. And that has continued from this day. I think those of us who have been looking at AI for a long time, this is just the next evolution. But for those who are coming newly into AI, it feels like generative AI is a new paradigm, right? But most of us have seen how it has evolved through the ages. So I think for us, while we continue to do a lot of developer relations activities, as of last year, we also thought of getting into developer recruitment, specifically in the AI space. Because now many companies woke up to what AI can do for them. They were very excited about the possibilities, and many of the companies had also been kind of evaluating it for some time, but they hadn't yet made that jump or that commitment into actually building solutions, which really changed with the ChatGPT coming in. In fact, not just for generative AI, but even some of the more traditional things like computer vision and NLP, companies actually started saying that let's go ahead and build. And they then ran into the trouble of where can we find the right developers for this? How do we evaluate them? How can we attract this talent to our company? Because these developers are, of course, in quite a lot of shortage. So that's basically how we got into the recruitment part of it as well. And that is something that we've been focusing on. So I think in today's session, I definitely like to share some of my learnings specifically from this AI developer recruitment part of it, what companies are looking for and what are some of the things that developers themselves can do to put their best foot forward. This really comes from almost a decade of, interacting with AI developers and understanding how their minds work. And of course, what companies are also looking for.
Fantastic. Also, having worked with you in your earlier avatar as applied Singularity, and that while I was there at as head of MediaTek Labs India. So one thing which I really liked about your focus on community is that any community needs to have an objective, a goal, right? Because just in absence of a goal, it is an activity, right? It's not a journey. Whereas when you connect companies at one side and the developers on the other side, then you become kind of the bridge. And I think you're focused on community building from that perspective. And that I think would really give the audience some really valuable tips in this space. So I'm really keen to know your views. Over to you, Nihal.
So I think I'll, kind of give about 5 tips. For there's a wealth of knowledge to be shared in this space, but we will stick to 5 interesting things that are specific to AI developers. Yeah. So the first thing is that AI feels like a niche space. Right? It feels like, oh, it's a new field, it's such a narrow field, but in reality, it's actually a very vast field. And so the first thing that I always tell developers, especially the ones who are getting newly into AI, or even slightly more senior developers who are thinking of transitioning to the AI field, is know what your career options are. Right. So AI actually, if you look at it, you can actually think of it as a few different subfields, right? Computer vision is anything that relates to the images or videos that are coming from cameras and trying to understand it. NLP is a lot more about text and language and sentiment analysis, all of those kind of things. If you look at generative AI, which is the buzzword now, it's really more of creating out of almost nothing. Like you can do text to video, text to image, all of those kinds of things. And then you have ML ops, which is really more of deploying your solutions, making sure that it is working correctly in production, all of that. And finally, you have a kind of a catch-all statement of data science, right? So data science, it is anything related to analytics, related to making sense of data. It is also about machine learning, deep learning, all of that. In some sense, you can think of it as this is where the time series data comes into play, whether it is financial data, whether it is data from machines, stock markets, all of these. That, in some sense, comes under the data science part of it. The reality also, of course, in the market is most companies use data science, as kind of a catch-all statement or any other field. So I have seen job descriptions that say data science, but what they're actually looking for is an NLP engineer or a computer vision researcher, right? So without getting too hung up on the terms, I think the underlying JD is what we definitely tell people to, go through. And even within AI, there are a lot of different options, right? Like some people they want to build a solution that is actually deployed in the market, whereas others are focused more on research. They want to make better models, more fine-tuned models, all of those things. So it really depends on what is their particular affinity. Similarly, in the industry, AI has a play in almost every industry. You think about healthcare, retail, finance, agriculture. Literally, there is no industry that is untouched by AI. So if as a developer, you have an affinity for a particular industry and interest, you should go for it. So what I suggest is that, go to the different websites, whether it is LinkedIn, whether it is Naukri, whether it is Well-Found, and start looking at the jobs that companies are putting up. You'll start to see patterns emerging. Oh, it looks like a lot of companies are now looking for RAG. What exactly is RAG? How do I learn more about it? Okay, I want to work for Microsoft or Google, those kind of companies, or I want to work specifically for startups, right? All of it is already out there. There are thousands of jobs out there. Even if you're not ready right now to start interviewing, just start looking at the different job listings. You will get a intuitive understanding of what it takes to crack these jobs. Right. So that's the first thing. Know your career options.
Got it. So on the same point, would I be right in saying that because AI is such a new field, I mean, generative AI specifically, it's been around 1.5 years at max. And typically, when you see the timeline of Will Smith eating spaghetti, right, videos to what's being created now, it's amazing, right? Within a short period of time, we have achieved so much. So many times, in my view, companies or SMBs or enterprises still don't have a firm idea as to what they should be doing or how they should be adopting AI into their space. So from that perspective, shouldn't a developer also look from a perspective that if, let's say, a developer has experience of a certain industry vertical, so let's say for hypothetical purpose, retail, right? He has worked in a few projects in the IT in the retail space, and now he wants to look at AI as a kind of a career choice to really accelerate. So what if he kind
Yes.
of creates a kind of a use case and a thing which kind of becomes like a pitch document, right? Saying that, hey, Mr. Retail industry or retail company, these are the things what your company lacks, or possibly are the solutions what you should be trying, and here's how I can help. So is that
Yes.
a kind of approach which developers should also kind of think in their mind?
Yes, for sure. Because, the more you start thinking about what are the possibilities of AI, one, the more exciting it is for you. And when you take that kind of homework or that kind of a document or thesis to a company, even the company tends to be impressed, right? And they're like, oh, wow, you have already done this. Why don't we talk further? And why don't you come and build this for us? So those kind of things happen, especially if you're looking at startups. I think maybe for the larger companies, there's a little bit more of a process, but startups are very happy to see, this kind of initiative from talent.
Right, but at the same time, they shouldn't give too much information, right? Otherwise, it's like a free thing. It should just be a trailer and not the main movie. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
great.
I think I have a slightly different view on that. I think, ideas people will definitely come across. Possibly the startup is already thinking about it, or possibly, yeah, they haven't thought about it, but once you present it to them, they might run with it. But they are more likely to get, to get the developer on board and say that, wow, this guy's already thinking about this. Let's ask him only if he can come and build it for us, right?
Got it. Makes
Uh,
sense.
so that is also there.
Great. So keen to know what are the other tips, Nihal.
Yeah. So I think the second step, once you kind of know what your career options are, and let's say that you chose a specific sub area of AI and said, well, these are the kind of jobs that are interesting. This is the kind of company I want to go to. This is the kind of work they want to do. Then the second thing definitely becomes building up your expertise, which is true of any job. But in the AI space, you have to build up that expertise on a daily basis, right? Because one, like you just said, things change so fast, right? Every day, every week, there is some state of the art, model that is coming out. There are some new breakthroughs. It is fantastic to see the kind of research that is happening there, which means that if you are not moving forward, you are effectively moving back. There is no standstill in AI, right? So that's where we suggest to people that there are two methodologies of learning, right? One is immersion, where on a daily basis you're kind of surrounding yourself with everything related to AI. You are literally immersing yourself in AI. You will read up about it. You will watch videos about it. You will go to events. You will talk to others. All of those things. That especially is if your job is anywhere related to AI. If you're already working in an AI company building some AI solutions, then almost by default you are immersed in it because you are working. If not, you have to put in that extra time, read up on the latest newsletters, follow interesting people on Twitter, uh, follow some YouTube channels, subscribe to the channels that you like. There's no dearth of content today. In fact, you will have too much content. That is a given. So you'll have to pick and choose the ones that you like, and you start consuming that content. The more you do it, the more you start to get familiar with the entire landscape, and because of that familiarity, you will actually start to enjoy it a little bit more, right? When you see some new update, you say, oh, they released this thing. I remember they were talking about building this about 6 months ago. Wow, in just 6 months they have released it, and it is breaking all the leaderboards, right? So that kind of thing, then you also get excited about it. You start to get more passionate about it. That is the immersion part, which is very critical, especially in a fast-changing field like AI. The other part of immersion, or I would say the two sides of the same coin. The other part is intervention. So where there is a specific gap in your skill set, where you want to have, let's say that you wanted to pick up some specific framework, you will go to Udemy or you will go to Coursera or you will go to any of the upgrads or any of these and do a course there, right? You'll say that, hey, this is the skill set that I'm lacking, but it looks like it's very important. I'm going to do like a very structured, 10-hour course or 15-day course or 6-month long course, whatever it might be. But I'm going to actually build up my skill set. So that is kind of an intervention-based learning. The reality is you will keep switching between these two throughout your life, right? You will immerse yourself in something, you will learn about it, you will see a gap, you will then take an intervention to fill that gap. Then you will go back to immersive. So that is again something very critical in the AI space, which we also suggest to people. Just keep doing it. you will build up your passion for it. And today there is no dearth of courses, no dearth of. In fact, you will find very good YouTube playlists also on any given topic today. Someone has taken the trouble to explain everything and record it and making it available for free. So there is no excuse to not doing this.
Got it. So, any advice for developers from a technology stack perspective? Like, for example, Python, they should know Python, or they should definitely check out the OpenAI APIs, or they should check out Perplexity, or they should look at RAG, and any technology stacks or technology pointers for them to kind of absorb and have a pretty good understanding.
It's hard to say. I think, of course, things like Python are definitely, they have an edge when it comes to AI because a lot of stuff is written in Python. But support is also coming to other languages like Go, and R is quite popular in these cases. All that. So it's hard to prescribe one or two leaders in the space, especially even if you see what is happening in the whole LLM side, right? Now OpenAI has got the best model. Now suddenly Claude has got the best model until the next OpenAI model comes out, which is the best. Then Claude will come out with his best. Then somewhere Mistral is in the mix. Then Gemini is trying to do something. Llama is going the open source space. So it's so hard now. In fact, that is one of the challenges that we face. How do I even choose which model that I want to go with? Because there's a threat that the model I choose will become outdated, by the time that we are out in production. Now, funnily enough, we were trying to do an event some time ago, and we announced that this event is going to be a deep dive into this particular model. By the time my event was announced, people were very excited about it. And before the event happened, a month later, it was already outdated. There was another newer model from another company, which was the latest. So we were like, wow, how do we, even to do an event, it is a challenge. How do you commit to building your entire product or tech stack on that particular thing? So I think in some sense, this kind of goes back to that first point I made. Just keep looking at all the job descriptions that are out there. Eventually, patterns will start to form. You'll start to see that, okay, it looks like a lot of people are asking for this particular framework. Let me get familiar with that framework. And at the same time, yes, you have to also be agile enough to, move where the tides are going, you go along with.
Got it. Also, would you say that, if possible, create some projects and showcase, because show and tell works better than, just tell, right? So is there a way for them to create short AI projects and kind of showcase it on some platform? That would also be useful.
Absolutely. In fact, that is the next tip that I had, which is use projects to boost your profile, right? So today what has happened is, unless, you're a fresher, maybe there your college and your marks or some of those things might matter, right? Your pedigree, if you're from a tier 1 college, all of that will help. But for anyone who's more than 2 years into the industry, your skills are far more important than your education. In fact, even for freshers, a lot of times, by the time that companies are hiring them, they're already expecting that, okay, in your third and fourth year, you should have been reading up a lot on AI, you should have been doing projects, you should have been going to hackathons. Show me your profile, show me what you have built so far, right? So that way, actually, projects are the best thing to do. One, you learn. That's the purest, in my mind, that is the purest form of learning. You will start on some problem statement. You will start end to end, right from collecting data, right from cleaning up the data, which is all boring work, but it is such a crucial part of the whole AI solution development. You will also do that in your actual job, right? So you might as well start doing it in your personal projects. Once you do those projects, you also see what all can go wrong. In fact, when something goes wrong is where your learning increases. If everything is going right, then you have implemented it and you have completed the project and you're patting yourself on the back. It is when something goes wrong and you start debugging and you're racking your brains, you're talking to people, you're looking up for solutions online, that is where your learning actually shoots up. So keep doing projects, and yes, definitely also try and showcase the work that you've done. You can have your own GitHub repository, put it up there, document your code well, write your code well and keep it there. You can publish it, your learning, you can publish it as a blog, you can put it up on LinkedIn saying, hey, I was looking to build a solution like this, and this is my experience of it. And these are the challenges I faced. This is how I overcame. You
Got it.
can record videos, put up all of those things. But by the end of it, you will definitely have a good showcase of the projects, which will go onto your CV. And invariably, when the interviews start, they of course ask a little bit about your prior work and all of those. But very quickly, it will go into projects. Tell me about this project that you did. Right?
Got it. Got
So that's a very rich space.
Right. So, and also, I think communities play a very important role when it comes to learning. Because, for example, you're stuck at some specific problem. The best way is to, of course, when you Google, you'll reach some Reddit or subreddit, and you kind of clues there, or maybe some community where they are discussing the exact problem what you're facing. So that I think again is something which would be relevant. On the same note, in deep tech stars, do you also have forums for where developers can talk about what they're doing, challenges, seek mentorship for or help? Do you also plan to do that?
Yes, we do have right now. We have our social media channels. We have a LinkedIn group where people can come and discuss. We have a WhatsApp group where people often ask, hey, I'm stuck with this problem. Has anybody faced this before? Then somebody hopefully will be able to suggest a solution. So we do that, and we of course welcome everybody and all your listeners to join us also on these things. If you go to deeptechstars.com, right at the bottom, all of our social media there, so people can always join. So
fantastic.
So yeah, so the entire projects part has been very interesting. In fact, one of the things that I also tell early stage, developers or those at the start of their career, if you're just working as a startup, that's fine. You can look for something there, but also consider working for an IT services company in the AI space. Because what happens, you get a wide variety of projects to work on. And these are projects that are live, being built for a paying customer, right? So the customer is very keen on building it, deploying it. You are able to go through the entire life cycle of a project. And so your learning actually shoots through the roof. Even today, sometimes, some of the best CVs that I see, actually people who in a matter of, a few years have already completed like 6-7 live projects in the AI space, right? So their learning goes through the roof. Of course, if you're working on a single project, that's also fine. Like if you're working in a product company, they're also learning is good. But I have seen that of late, somehow people don't have that much of an interest to go into IT services, which I think is a little unfortunate. There's a lot of learning to be had there. So, yeah, so that was the third point, Ashish, about using projects to boost your profile. Coming to the next one, assignments. Right now, this we kind of get into once the interview process has started. Right. One of the things that I see from many candidates is a pushback when it comes to doing assignments. Like, why should I do assignments? I am too senior for this, right? If they're doing assignments, I don't even want to interview with this company. I get a lot of this kind of thing. And I actually tell them it is the opposite. Even if a company is not asking you to do an assignment, you should push and tell the company, why don't you give me a problem statement? Let me show you what I can do. So assignments feels like, oh, this is going to be a lot of work. But in reality, it is also like another project, right? But it is a project that, again, the industry has given you. Once you do an assignment, you actually get a lot of benefits. First of all, you yourself are learning. And so you're kind of improving upon your skill set, especially if it is an assignment in an area that you might not know very well. You should grab that opportunity. And second, by doing assignments, you are showing the company that, look, I am very enthusiastic and I'm very high energy about this. I want to do these things. I am not afraid of, additional work or something. See, no company will want to hire somebody who wants to just come and do the bare minimum and go, right? Every company is like, oh, wow, this guy has got a lot of enthusiasm. I think it'll be nice to have him on our team. That is the kind of mentality that is. Assignments are the perfect place to show that. So in the interview, it's a question answer that is happening. It is a discussion that is happening, but you don't have a free hand to sit and work the way that you would work on a regular person. You're doing an assignment at home. You can Google it. You can check what are the best practices. You can learn all that. Showcase the entire. Third, when you actually do the assignment well and go and show it to the company and say, hey, this is what I think, we can do if I were to come and join your company. they'll be looking and they say, oh man, this was a very interesting approach, or, code looks great, or wow, the performance of this small assignment he's done in a short period of time is very good. We must get this person on board. It's okay even if we have to go above budget. Or it's okay even if we have to give him at the highest band of our budget. Please make sure that we get this person on board, right? So it gives you a lot of power even in negotiating for your salary over there. So why would you give up that chance to impress them, right? And give yourself the best foot forward by just doing a small assignment. Literally, some of the assignments take 2 to 3 days is what they talk about, right? Sometimes more, sometimes less. So always take that opportunity. Now, I'm not saying that every time that you do an assignment, you are guaranteed the job. Yes, it might be that you did not get the job after that. It is still not a loss because you have anyway learned. And secondly, that assignment you can continue to work. Nothing is stopping you from continuing to work on it after. Work on it, put it as another project in your CV after that. So then your CV is becoming stronger and stronger. Every interview you go, your CV has improved, right? It's only a matter of time before you actually, you eventually crack a job. So assignments are a great way to do it. And, just to bust that myth that, I am too senior, why should I do an assignment? In fact, it is a sign of seniority if you're being asked to do assignments, because at the junior level, you can get away with interview. See, they're hiring a junior person, they'll say, okay, this much assessment is enough, we will manage somehow after, we will train them what it is. But at a senior level, companies cannot afford to take that chance. They'll want to see what you can bring to the table even before you join. Even a director, even a CXO, if a company is hiring, they will ask them beforehand, you tell me what you would do if you get this job. I would like to understand your foresight. I would like to understand your thinking, your capability, right? So being asked to do an assignment actually should be seen as a sign of seniority rather than saying that I'm too senior to do this. So that is one learning. And I would definitely encourage people, if a company is not even giving an assignment, ask for the assignment. Say that, let me do something and come back.
Right. Also, correct me if I'm wrong, is no AI developer or any developer for that matter should feel entitled, right? That because they have knowledge of AI, they're doing the company a favor by appearing for an interview and assignment, right? So because it's also a question of attitude, because if you don't show enthusiasm and give the impression or give the vibes that hey, you know what, I'm from a top tier college and I'm the best AI developer you can get. So consider yourself lucky that I am in front of you. That attitude won't go, right? So that's relevant.
Correct. Actually, that's a very, very relevant point. While I speak to different companies, right, we have kind of a questionnaire for them, and we ask them, what are the things that you're looking for, all of that. The one thing that is consistent across all the companies is they don't want an arrogant person. This, I have not come across a single company that says that, if a person is very good but he's arrogant, would you want to on board? That is the specific question I asked. They said, no, it's okay, we don't want him. Get us someone who is not as good as him, but who is easy to work with, right? So it's a very valid point that you bring up. At the end of the day, all of us, nobody likes to work with someone who's difficult, right? So I would say the only good point about having some arrogant people come in for the interviews, it makes the other candidates look good. That's the only advantage to it.
True. So cool. So what's your point? Very keen to know about it.
Yes. So the fifth one is again kind of specific to the seniors, either mid or senior level talent in the AI space. That is domain knowledge. Actually, if you think about it, AI is just a tool. Right? It's like any other tool that you have. You can really extract the value from AI only when you understand the context around it. A lot of times, the data is so nuanced, the outcomes are so nuanced that you have to have an innate understanding of what is the problem statement, what is this industry like, why is this important, why is that not as important, to be able to get the most out of a solution, right? So, for example, it is not hard building an AI solution, especially in this day of generative AI, where even the models, everything is ready. You just have to do a few API calls and it is working, and it is 80% accuracy, right? Now that is something that, if people will even do in a hackathon, right? You give them 2 days, they will have a solution that is working. with a decent accuracy, 70%, 80%. Now, for someone to move that accuracy from 80 to about 85%, that will typically be, a fairly junior person who is maybe in the salary bracket of 6 lakhs to 15 lakhs, right? Now, for someone to move from 85 to 90%, you need slightly more senior people who understand nuances. They might be in the range of, 15 to 30 lakhs. For someone to move from 90 to 93%, it will be someone, even more senior who really has gotten it, who's put a few years of expertise. They are now 50 to 80 lakhs kind of range. If you actually want to take your solution from 93% to 97%, you're talking about, people in the 1 crore plus category, right? So that is how important it is to understand the data. It's very easy to get it 80%, extremely hard to get it to 95%.
Got it.
Right?
Also, when you're talking of AI, then with this, input cost, of course, then companies would say, okay, good enough is good, right? We don't want a perfect solution, because even companies with the AI solution which they kind of adopt, it would be some time in which they need to refine it, or go back to the drawing boards. So
Yeah.
that's so great. So thanks, Nihal. This gives a great perspective. And thank you, dear listeners, for tuning in. Do subscribe, share, and like this podcast. Consider giving the podcast a 5-star rating if you like the content. Bye for now. Talk to you soon.